Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news now. Folks, buckle up because what I'm about to tell you could be a game changer not just for the Steelers, but for the entire AFC North. Rumors are swirling around that the Cleveland Browns, coming off a tough Fort Worth season in 2025 and clearly in rebuild mode, are eyeing a blockbuster trade that could shake up the division and set the Steelers on a new, more promising trajectory. And the player at the center of this speculation, none other than Myles Garrett, one of the most disruptive forces in the league today. Now I know what you're thinking, Myles Garrett in a Steelers uniform. Yeah, it sounds almost too good to be true at first glance, but the whispers are gaining steam, and if it happens, it could redefine what Pittsburgh's defense can do moving forward. Imagine Garrett, a player who's been an absolute nightmare for opposing lines, teaming up with T.J. Watt. That's a duo that's capable of generating over 20 sacks combined, creating mismatches all over the field and turning the Steelers' defense into a true top-tier unit again. Garrett has exploded in recent seasons, amassing 124. 5 sacks in his career, along with 411 tackles, 23 forced fumbles, and a lifetime PFF grade of 92. 1. Just last season, he led the entire league with 22 sacks, adding 32 tackles for loss, 37 quarterback hits, and a pressure rate of 28%. That kind of production is rare, folks. He's the kind of player who can change a game in a flash, consistently applying pressure, disrupting plays, and elevating everyone around him. Now the Browns, sitting at 22, 6 points allowed per game, are clearly looking to rebuild and cut costs. They have a cap space of about $22 million, but sources suggest they're willing to part ways with Garrett in exchange for draft capital. The proposed deal. The Steelers would send a first-round pick in 2026 and a third-round pick in 2027 to Cleveland. That would free up around $15 million in cap space for Pittsburgh, money that could be used to invest in other young talents or to extend key players. The Browns, on the other hand, would be gaining a significant asset in Garrett, who's still in his prime and could be a cornerstone for their rebuild, especially if they're planning to focus on bolstering their offensive line, which allowed 45 sacks last season, or extending contracts for young players like Jerome Ford. Speaking of Cleveland's struggles, they're also leaking points, allowing an average of 22. 6 points per game, and they've lost 4 of their last 5 contests. It's clear that they're in a bit of a tailspin, and making a move for Garrett makes sense from a cap management perspective. A trade would alleviate their $25 million cap hit in 2026, and they'd get the draft picks needed to rebuild that roster. For the Browns, it's about trying to hit the reset button and build a more balanced team around their young core. But for the Steelers, this is where things get really interesting. Adding Garrett to the defense would be like hitting the jackpot. It's not just about adding a pass rusher. It's about transforming your entire defensive approach. Think about how Garrett's presence would impact the Steelers' defense. We already know that T.J. Watt is a game wrecker, but pairing him with Garrett would create a nightmare for any offensive line. Teams would have a hard time double-teaming both, and the pressure on quarterbacks would skyrocket. Garrett's ability to generate pressure, he's averaged over 16 sacks a season since entering the league, would complement Watt perfectly. Plus, with Garrett's ability to disrupt plays in the backfield, the Steelers' run defense would see a significant boost. His 23 forced fumbles and 32 tackles for loss last season show just how much havoc he can wreak. Let's also talk about the impact on the Steelers' overall team performance. Right now, Pittsburgh is sitting at 9-7 in 2025, allowing roughly 7 points per game. Improving the pass rush with a player of Garrett's caliber could make a huge difference in close games. It's about creating pressure on the quarterback, reducing the number of big plays, and forcing turnovers. Adding Garrett would also mean fewer yards allowed on the ground, as he's a force against the run, and his presence would help the secondary with extra pressure, leading to more forced turnovers, something the Steelers desperately need. Projected stats suggest an increase of about 18-20 sacks over the current team total, which would be a massive upgrade, putting the Steelers back into the elite conversation. Now, The ripple effects go beyond just the defense. With Garrett on board, the Steelers' odds of making a deep playoff run would improve dramatically. The Super Bowl odds would see a significant boost, with Pittsburgh's chances jumping from plus 2,500 to around plus 1,200, similar to the Chiefs after their move for Jones in 2023. That's a 50% increase in their chances to lift Lombardi number 7. In the playoffs, Garrett would serve as an X-factor, especially against top-tier quarterbacks. His pressure rate would increase from around 25% to nearly 35%, making life miserable for any QB, including guys like Mahomes or Burrow. The ability to limit passes and force quick throws or turnovers could be the difference in tight postseason games. And let's not forget, this move also has long-term implications. It echoes the Steelers' glory days of the 70s, where their dominant defenses were anchored by game-changing players. Garrett could become that kind of cornerstone, a true defensive anchor who elevates the entire unit. With him, the Steelers could rebuild that identity of a ferocious, relentless defense that strikes fear into opponents week after week. It's about setting a tone, establishing a culture of toughness and disruptive play, exactly what the Steelers have been known for historically. Of course, all of this hinges on how the trade negotiations unfold. Cleveland would need to be convinced to part ways with Garrett, and Pittsburgh would need to make a compelling offer. But considering the potential upside, it's a move that could pay huge dividends. For Steelers fans, it's an exciting prospect, especially when you think about the future of that defense. Pairing Garrett with Watt, adding a disruptive presence that can anchor the line for years to come, makes the Steelers a true contender again. It's about reestablishing their identity as a team that can dominate on defense just like they did in the past. Now, looking at the bigger picture, this move could reshape the entire AFC North. The Browns, losing such a key player, might struggle even more next season, and the division could tilt even more in Pittsburgh's favor. The Ravens and Bengals are formidable, no doubt, but with a Garrett-Watt duo wreaking havoc, the Steelers would be in a prime position to challenge for the division crown and beyond. It's the kind of move that sends ripples across the league, energizing the fan base and sending a message to the rest of the AFC that Pittsburgh is serious about returning to the top. And as for the Super Bowl with Garrett in the fold, the Steelers' chances of making a deep playoff run increase significantly. They would be considered a serious threat, especially if their offense can continue to develop and stay healthy. It's all about building around that dominant defense, and Garrett could be the missing piece to unlock a new era of Steelers football, a modern-day version of Steel Curtain 2.0. It's about setting the stage for a potential dynasty, and honestly, it's very exciting to think about what this could mean for Pittsburgh's future. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. So yeah, folks, this potential trade is one to watch closely. If it comes to fruition, it could be one of the most impactful moves in recent Steelers history. It would send a message that Pittsburgh is back in the business of building elite defenses and chasing Lombardis with everything they've got. Garrett's arrival would energize the fan base, boost the team's confidence, and set the Steelers up as serious contenders for years to come. Now, of course, nothing is certain yet, and the details will need to be ironed out, but the possibility alone is enough to excite every Steelers fan out there. Imagine the roar at Heinz Field if this move happens. An unstoppable pass rush, a defense that's feared across the league, and a team poised to make a real run at Super Bowl LXI. That's the kind of future we're talking about, and it's just around the corner if the stars align. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive into what could be a historic move for our beloved Steelers. Keep the faith, stay loud, and let's hope that someday soon we're celebrating another Super Bowl victory, with Garrett leading the charge. Because if this trade happens, it's not just about adding a player, it's about transforming the entire franchise into a powerhouse once again. That's the Steelers way, and I'm telling you, the best is yet to come.